to be able to participate, just to give everyone a brief refresher at home. Here's how it works. Step one, you drop in and sign up. You say, oh, we're going PAX West. You land, you get here. You come to PAX Lot 73 with your PAX West badge. You say, hello, I'd like to compete. It's very early in the morning. We do that. You enter the registration line and sign up. Then it's step two. You get told what time to be there, you show up. It's pretty easy. You're a functioning adult, you'll get it, you'll figure it out. Then you play. You hope to qualify, make it through the heats, qualify for the Nightly Qualifiers, and then potentially be the top 33 to make it on through to that grand finals on Monday. There's a lot of information, I know.
It is.
The format, though, Ben, break it down for us.
So, Courage, if you make it into the heats, the qualifiers are all the way to the grand finals. The scoring is the same. The heats each day, there are 3 heats a day. Each heat is 2 matches. The qualifiers, which is this evening, that's what we're getting ready to enjoy. It's 4 matches. And the grand finals on Monday is 6. Now, scoring is done based both rank and elimination. If you get 1 or 2 eliminations, you don't get any points, but it does go towards the tiebreakers, which we'll cover here in 1 second. But if you did 3 or 4 eliminations, that's 1 point. 5 or 6, you get 2 points. And if you get 7 or more elims, that's 3. Now, if you get a top 10 at a minimum, that's 1 point. If you get second or third, that's 2 points. And if you get the victory royale, that's 3 points, Courage. Now, I mentioned the tiebreakers. They are determined in the following order. The total victory royale.
And here, there's a look at the venue. All the players packed on in. The Fortnite Summer Skirmish, 8 weeks of competition, has brought us to this point. And I believe there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go.
Here we go. It's game 1.
Day 2, the final week of Summer Skirmish, Jack. And we have a northwest to almost a top center bus path, and you see already, like I said before, we were talking about long range drops. Anywhere is basically eligible. It's all valid. One thing that you will see, do you see in the bottom left on the map right there, that you have a number of players dropping out over the ocean. The reason they do that, for anybody that doesn't realize, your parachute opens in the game, the glider opens based on your elevation relative to the ground, and so what they're doing is trying to drop over the water because the elevation of the ground is as low as possible, which means they get a really late parachute drop. Yep. That gets them to the drops, the loot locations faster. And we're going to take a look in the bottom right there.
That's why they pay you.
That's
Lupo.
Thank you, Jack.
Because you explained that.
That's TSM Myth. You have a number of players floating in around them. You can still see the map there. A lot of players still floating to the east, southeast side. We talked about Paradise Palms. We got Myth here dropping into the center Dusty Divot, location that has changed a number of times over the seasons. And he starts out here, attack, some shield. Time to take a look around.
Can't complain about that as we swap on perspectives to Jumpman, who's all the way at Valhalla, as I like to call it, Viking Village for some. At the top side of this map, a lot of benefits actually to landing up here, Lupo, and a lot of them are for that reason right there. You see right next to Jumpman, that rift that can just get him out of any bad scenario. Saf, who's up top of them, we just saw the inventory, already has a scar. So if this man gets into any sort of a ranged battle, I think it's going to spell disaster.
It's going to be tough. Jumpman does have the hunting rifle, which you won't see a whole lot of late game from a majority of players, but unless they're feeling very adventurous. Typically, late game in competitive matches turns into like a very CQC fight. But Eriko taking Double down with a single shot there. A couple of these players, they're going to be names that you will see again, because if they played in the heats and made it into the qualifiers but did not get into the grand finals on Monday, they're given the opportunity to jump back in and push through a heat again if they have the chance.
You get here early enough.
Exactly.
You get here early enough, go for it, I think is the thought process there. But it looks like Jumpman will be getting into this engagement with Saf, who's just above him, using that high ground. No player having any shields, but I would say the inventory has to favor Saf here. The scar, the blue pump. He's got a hunting rifle as well. Not a lot of materials, though, Lupo, to work with.
No shield for either of those players, and they're going to try and a little bit of explosive play here to see if they can bump one another out from any sort of any cover they're in underneath. Trying to rotate around Saf, trying to get a smack in so we can get one more until he's out. He cannot build now, which means an engagement is forced. The trap play, and Saf goes down. Jumpman.
This is from the lower side of the map at Flush Factory. There's Nazgul with the quick pump shotgun shots to eliminate his opponent. The crowd gets a little bit behind him there. You'll love to see it. Now swapping on over to the complete, eastern side of the map.
Jay Cuddy taking out King with the tack shotgun, gray or not.
Look at the reaction of the camera. Okay, I'm getting a feel for this.
That great tack, if you're close enough, if you're accurate enough, effectiveness is there. You just have to hit your shots, and now, we saw right there.
That's not the storm. That's the low gravity zone. By Fatal that's currently in play. This was happened because of the cube that's been rolling around. quick little swap for Marshmallow to get that elim. No materials really left, but 200 HP. You got to be feeling pretty confident there. Storm Tiger, name seen online before. Going to go ahead and loot this chest just outside Tilted.
I believe I saw it just on the feed. Liquid Poach was just eliminated, a name that we were discussing earlier, which is that's a big one to have go down when there's still 80 players, just under 80 players remaining in the game. But you have to remember, 3 more matches after this one. Saint is eliminated, someone we watched yesterday that was not able to make it to the grand finals just yet, but Storm Tiger took him out there. Out of materials, 7 and 5, and that's it. It hopes to grab a little bit, enough for one build.
Wow.
5 HP.
Oh my goodness!
The timing.
He's got to try to make something happen. Hit the sniper shot.
1 medal, 1 HP.
What? What?
Storm Tiger makes it all the way underneath.
Okay, and here's his opponent. Maxed health with a shotgun. Storm Tiger, if you win this game, you're my dad. Okay.
And Jack.
You are not the father. The tests are back, my friend.
Jack, you're putting the caster curse coming out already. Wallhack Jack, a fellow member of Rogue, looking for an elimination here, but Teenage takes him out. Some very accurate mid-air SMG shots.
And one thing to remind everybody at home, if you've been watching the Summer Skirmish up to this point, we have not had a live crowd. Well, guess what? It is standing room only. And you can hear just how intense it is. A live look at the scoreboard. Again, we are running a full-functioning spectator feature here this weekend that catches us up to speed on where we are now. Ben, for everybody at home, let's remind them of how the points work. 3 to 4 limbs will earn you 1 point. Nobody yet at 3 limbs, so everyone's still sitting with a goose egg.
Lassie's the closest right now, though, with 2, but here we see Painful PvP pushing up, trying to see if he can get above his opponent, but there's a lot of building going on here. The triangles there, the pyramids, but he does have a top down his opponent, using those pyramids to double layer, trying to make his way in, but a lot of edit and replaces from Painful. The drop down, his opponent closes an edit behind him. The chase down. That tack shotgun coming in handy. It takes an elim from Siva there and picks up all his loot.
Was that not exactly what we talked about earlier on with the edits and how edits are basically 90% of high-level play? Both players trying to utilize them there. Fortunately, only one can come out on top as we swap on over to Payday, who's just bouncing around.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you noticed that he's an Xbox controller player. You've seen the keybinds down at the bottom is the Y and the bumpers, which means we've seen a number of players show up with their controllers and stay toe-to-toe with anybody, and it's wonderful to see that. The competition is fierce on both the console and the PC side. Now, Cease is someone we've seen in the Summer Skirmish events a number of times. I've watched his gameplay. Very, very fast edits as we've seen in the past, but he's also scary accurate. Of course, I say that, the shotgun blast. A second one coming in, the jump over the top.
There's the edits you mentioned. Trying to just pull some last-ditch efforts with the clingers, but it's not enough. Payday does go down. It's a relatively clean fight from Cease, and the big thing to point out, too, as well, Lupo, look at the materials. Now, 800 wood, 430 brick. Great spot to be in so early in the game. You see Hysteria on the left side of your screen. He was someone who wasn't able to make it through yesterday through those qualifiers. Came back on through, got off early, and now he's back again.
Made it through the heats today to give it another shot, and they're down there in Greasy, but back over just southwest of retail. There's a pair of houses here that is a pretty common loot spot for players that don't want to hit a POI, but it looks like it's a pretty hefty drop here this time. Dr. David, a fellow doctor, trying to see if he can put some shots in.
Probably not legitimate as well. Sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Ben. We'll talk about that later on.
These drop-ins, you'll see some players even avoid building. I think his opponent was down underneath. That David gets third-partied.
Wondering, is he going to pop the Rift to go? Is he going to try to just use it as an escape tool?
He's going to escape. If right now he feels like he's in a bad spot and he does not use that Rift to go, I feel like that's a pretty big mistake. He has an opportunity to make a move here. Yep. He can pop them, and he does have bandages there to push himself up. He's going to be at 100 HP if he gets a chance to get all of those off. But we'll see here if Stark 2K decides to push or not. We have Mjov, Sean was taken again, another name we've seen, and Kevy back there in retail, and the Storm's going to push them out to the west. You're going to see some third party here in a second. This build fight as well is going to be maybe an opportunity to get a knockdown on somebody.
See, like it as he had Stark just disengaging. And, you know, I was so confident in him in that last battle once I saw the kind of health that his opponent was at, but then I didn't kind of realize maybe his material count was low, and that's exactly what the scenario is on the opposite side of the map.
Megalomaniac 94. This is out at the hotel. The snipe shot. The headshot on Envy Scratch before going for the rift to make an escape because of the circle,
and
but
Scratch had maxed HP.
He did.
Megalomaniac only had 75. That was one of those where it's like, this kind of determines my whole game right here.
A headshot is everything, and he landed it. An excellent shot. Fuzzy, the top-down view, pushing down. This double barrel we've seen a number of times. One of the most chosen in competitive, most chosen shotguns in competitive games because just how close combat a lot of these fights are. You won't see a lot of players say no thank you to a double barrel. It hits so hard up close, you can make a definitive play very easily with it.
Right now, Fuzzy seems like he's not too confident in the engagement he finds himself in, just looking for maybe a reset in this fight. Quick little picture in the top right as you see Fuzzy just kind of jump out of frame saying, nope, not this time around, pal.
The top right there, like you said, Jack, is kind of, it was almost a cross-section of what was happening around Fuzzy as he was backing away, just so players can see the layers, the number of the angles, the ramps that get placed during these engagements. And you have to watch for every angle possible because his opponent could have pushed up, built up a little bit, and gotten the top-down view through one of those ramps and taken a shot on Fuzzy as he was backing out, but he was lucky enough that they did not do that. He's taking his opportunity to farm up a little bit and build up another material buffer. Cub Smiles, this is another player I think we saw yesterday making a move away. A lot of intelligent disengaging, a lot of defensive building that is excellent to see in competitive matches because a lot of players see building most of the time as an aggressive way to play, pushing up on your opponents. But right now, even right here, he might potentially edit that once it finishes so he can peek through the structure and see if his opponent is pushing. And
this zone, you just heard that kind of noise, means, hey, it's about to push. Slowly beginning to close on it, and this is actually a very, very awkward zone. You see it, half of the zone is the water. So no one will be there. How does that maybe change these scenarios, Dr. Lupo? Because we talk about gatekeeping all the time, but I feel like you've only got about 60% of that zone that's even in play.
Not a whole lot of players are going to be coming from the north and northwest side just because of how thin the sliver of the map is that's left up there. You also have the southeast corner, which, if you saw the map earlier, is relatively sparse with players. But that northeast side, the largest push of players, and there's actually a fight going on outside there. Hopefully we can see that after the fact, depending on what happens with that. The two players fighting the storm. But there's going to be a big wave of people coming into the river, which is extremely exposed too. If I were in a position northeast side of Shifty Shafts, I'd build a 1x1 up there. If I had a scope, they are especially, or even just something I could tap fire with, take advantage of third-party situations, especially right now.
Oh, most certainly. As we continue to watch, Cub Smiles is setting up right now, swapping it over to Linane as he's got some remote explosives in hands, considering maybe dropping some on in there, but realizing, hey, that would probably cause some danger close splash damage to me as well. So maybe not my best play as of yet. There you go. Now his opponent beginning to build on up, try to fight for this high ground. The quick reaction from Linane as he continues to build on up, keeping the high ground advantage, not getting the high damage pump shots he might want. It looks like it's time to spray. SMG in hand, nothing as of yet. And now, a third party. A new challenger approaches as he will again look to kind of reset this fight. Do you stop and maybe just use the chug jug here?
Potentially, you see he's dropped down. He's taking an opportunity maybe to, like you said, use the chug jug. And one thing I want to point out is in the middle of that fight, he was using a pump action shotgun to try and blow through surfaces. And recently, Fortnite, there was a change to that. Shotguns don't do nearly enough damage to make it an aggressive play to use it to push through structures. The swap to an SMG in that situation probably would have been a better play because he would have been able to push more aggressively on his opponent who was trying to escape. So the shotgun choice, not enough damage. It just doesn't fire fast enough, and because of the change recently, it doesn't hit hard enough to make it an aggressive push through structure.
Now, quick note, I just looked down at my scoreboard. Remember when I mentioned 0 people had points yet? Well, guess what? Ghost Aiden just jumped up to 5 elims. 2 points already earned. Our leader at this point, and then Painful now at 3. Those are our only 2 players up to this point, Dr. Lupo, who have earned themselves some points on the board.
There are 3 other players currently alive that have 2 eliminations, 1 more elim pushing them to the 3 to get that single point. That's Kevy, Fluffy, and Zachamp. If they could pull, like I said, 1 more elim.
And it's so important to mention, too, as we see how Painful got his 3rd elim. There it was. Jay Cuddy gets cut down. But the thing to bring up, we had our 33rd player qualify with 1 point yesterday. Aiden, with 5 elims, already has 2. This is just the beginning of game number 1 of the 4 we'll play. You got to think if you're Aiden right now, you're sitting pretty to potentially qualify for Monday's grand final.
the southeast side. You hear that launch pad at this point. Shivzy might want to keep his eyes up. An opponent launch padded either away, painful. You see right there, and there it is, flying his way out. That engagement probably a good one to back out of. Painful saw a number of different opponents coming in and saying, no, now's not the time for this.
The cube coming into play, the zone closing right on it. Towards it. I'm so happy to see it. I want to see how it affects things. And
right through, he's watching. He's going to C4 out and drop the player in. He saw him directly above.
Tries to make some fancy plays happen. There's the quick build as well. Trying to protect from the third party that's peeking on in. Still 200 HP for Lenane. 0 elims to this point, so playing a little bit more of a passive game. Trying to use those audio cues, listen for where this player could be. I think he's got him spotted in the brick, and here comes more remote explosives. No! It's only an 8-point damage. There's the cleanup. Onto Ultra, but again, that third party now popping on in. Lenane's got to keep the action going, keeping the high ground. Try to spot with this pump. Only 24 more for Wood. Thankfully, a ton of brick to use. Quick little peek, cheeky. The high ground secured again with the ramp. Drops that wall to block as well to be able to re-secure with that floor, and just like that, Lenane has chipped away some damage, Lupo, while keeping the high ground.
Lenane actually showed a really important skill that a lot of competitive players have utilized. Well, yes, obviously, but yeah, he jumped out to the on the right side, took the shotgun shot, and then built underneath him. He was going for the hit as fast as possible. He could have built and jumped out, but that might have cued his opponent to say, oh, you're building out here, you're going to push from that side, and he could have built a wall, but Lenane said, nope, I'm going to jump to the air, take the shot first, and then we'll worry about building and stopping the drop.
This is actually Aiden from earlier. That was Aiden's fifth elim.
Fuzzy.
A brilliantly lightning quick edit. Back to the Lenane fight, still in this engagement. The zone will slowly be closing on in. Yes, they're right on the edge, but they will have to move. Looks like that player just below is beginning that process of moving now, and Lenane still wants us. The third party, though. This could spell disaster. Only 13 HP, and that storm's going to hit for a lot as it closes on in. Lupo. Magnum Cade knows he's got someone just below, and there it is. Peekaboo. Lenane will have to wait for game 2.
Well, Lenane actually, Jack, he was on my flight, my second flight here.
I was actually not expecting that.
No, it's a fun fact. And this is his first time flying out of the country to come down here to Seattle to play in the Summer Skirmish.
Okay, Aiden has 7 elims. 7 elims, and there's still 32 left. We're about to have to add a whole new point category for this guy. Playing on controller. This kid's an absolute beast.
He's already got 3 points. We're at the point now where he might have to, he can play a little slower. He doesn't necessarily have to play for eliminations now because he's capped the number of points that he can get from elims.
Yep.
Now, that being said, don't forget, tiebreakers, one of the biggest pieces. Yeah, Victory Royales determine it first, but you're not going to see a lot of those, so eliminations count for everything. He could play slower, and 7 is a lot to sit on for this Courage.
Right.
Yesterday, we didn't see very many players hitting even double digits over the course of 4 games, so 7 is huge.
Here's a little replay from earlier on as Rogue 00 Flower. A little bit of build battle.
Shotgun shot there. Gets tendons during the rotation. He's got a minute here. That storm is going to start impacting gameplay decisions, though.
Sean, you see the low gravity.
Floating, yep. They're close enough to the cube. This thing is really changing up how some players are maneuvering and maybe even throwing them off. The expectation to drop faster while you're jumping and trying to throw snipers and tap fire from ARs from a distance off, it might make it tougher because you're not necessarily moving in a way that you're used to. Now here's the leaderboard as we were talking about earlier. 3 other players hit 3 eliminations. That means 3 people have a single point apiece. But Painful PvP, the only one of those 3 that's still alive. Plus Aiden sitting pretty at 7 up top.
Back to the game now. Sean was taken, hiding, healing. Greasy Grove. One of my favorite areas on the map. You see that low gravity zone ending just outside that area. Players beginning to push on in. Aiden has made the move. So last we saw, Aiden was on the far side of the zone, had to make something happen. Well, he has. Still 31 players left. You can see the entire zone on this mini-map. Shows just how kind of slow played some of these guys are taking this to try to stay alive for that top 10.
Now you can see Aiden kind of sneaking around. I think he may have heard movement from the player above. You have to remember, even a weapon swap, you can hear that audio cue, and so Wheels up top, if there's change weapons at any point while Aiden's been in here, he will have heard him. You can hear the footsteps. There's movement happening. He knows there are people around him.
He's looking for more fights. This is the next zone. Is the first zone that will be, one of the full rotations that'll have to happen. It's half out of play. Tempo actually just got knocked out of this game by Cease. So
I gotta say, this might be some of the most aggressive.
Right?
In the middle of a rotation, Aiden just says, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. I've got a player trapped outside, put himself in a 1-by-1, and he's making moves.
Look at these speed builds, turbo building, spinning around, placing walls. He's made it into the next zone again, out of metal, but still 1,500 plus materials to use to his name. Over to Levake, trying to edit on down. Player just above, a little bit of an awkward spot for him to be in. Uh-oh, remember that trap? Remember that trap, Aiden?
There are a pair of them in there.
Remember that trap, Aiden? Place! Remember the trap? There it is!
But it wasn't Aiden. Bowman SC was the second trap, the one closer to the front door. You see the border around the traps tell you whether or not they're yours or not. And we saw when Aiden put one down, there was a second trap with a yellow border around there. There's an opponent.
I thought he was walking into Aiden's. Imagine that would have been his 8th limb. My goodness.
Adam Cade. One of the few players I think that I've seen thus far holding on to a bolt action this late in the game. And it's funny to say late in the game. I shouldn't have said anything, but Chuck Nance, the shotgun play there. But this late in the game, there's 26 players remaining, and this is the first circle move. This is where the people on the east and south side, forced engagements are going to happen. Joystick in general going to run into each other. Bowman actually going down there in the southwest to Shivsy. Kevy taking out Stark Duque in the rotation in, but gets third party by Sean was taken.
Oh, and Sean just got a free launch pad placed right below him from an enemy, so he's going to use that to maneuver quickly towards the opposite side of the zone. Cease now building up to the high ground too. You see Hysteria still alive, Marksman still alive, Ghost Fizzle still in this. Those are some of the bigger names in competitive Fortnite. Still fighting in these last 22 spots in game 1.
Now, Velicody maybe pulling the first time I've ever seen somebody bunker up in the basement of Durburger. Usually a pretty common loot spot, but sticking yourself down in the basement, it could be rough. You're kind of bottlenecking everyone above you, because obviously you can't mine out through the floor. Aiden pulling almost another Elim. Looks like there were 3 players in there because he took the shot, didn't get the Elim. And Vide, who got the Elim on his opponent, gets the follow-up.
There you go.
An excellent 2 piece there. But
crowd getting behind Aiden, it seems like.
Absolutely. Should be proud. 3 points already.
Yeah, definitely our leader up to this point, but back to the action. Zone will close soon. Remote explosives in the hand of Sean. He's got 3 limbs, so 1 point for him earned so far. Looking for that quick little third-party peek. Does a little bit of damage. He's closest to this next zone. And Lupo, why is this the best positioning as we move towards this next one?
He's in a great spot because at this point, the remainder of the players, they're going to have to move the furthest. Now, his structure just got shot down a little bit on the left side, but he can third party. He can watch for rotations. He has a purple AR, which is excellent at doing a ton of damage mid-rotation. You have a really good moderate range weapon. Joystick drops down the shotgun blast and then switches to that literally almost down to the last bullet of his gray SMG to get that elimination.
And look at this.
The southwest corner is going to be a nightmare for everybody trying to move right now.
This is where the storm just begins to farm. Sean looking on down. He's got all the height he could ever want. Someone now beginning to challenge this high ground. It looks like he'll prioritize him for the moment. And wow, Alpha just got shredded. 35-35, 70. We'll see it in game 2, pal. Sean moves a little bit closer. Now down to just 11. Remember, top 10 earn a point. Hysteria, no!
Hysteria versus Ghost Fizzle, and that puts him out of 11th.
That means Hysteria was 1 limb. If he gets that limb, he earns himself a point. Instead, he'll end game 1 on a goose egg.
Now the next circle you see in the top, Courage, is going to be rough for pretty much everyone. Not a whole lot of building was done between here and the north side past Greasy Grove, which means this is going to be an open area move. A lot of players are going to get caught rotating and maybe even run out of materials. We saw yesterday, I asked you about the building over the top, the layers that they're building to kind of create themselves cover while they move on the ground. And with nobody else out here, no other structure, everyone will be exposed, especially if you run out of materials.
Yeah, Sean is just farming from up top. He's down to just metal, and here you go.
Beginning of the move.
Oh, goodness.
Taking shots, shooting down a Ghost Fizzle. See some painful running into each other. A player from Tempo having to move simultaneously. Look at the layers here.
He's going for it all right now. He's going for it all right now, getting a little bit lower, not to take some crazy fall damage. Cease with 1. Chino now spectating as well. He's been eliminated. You see Sicarios is trying to build with whatever materials he has left. There you go. Builds a little 1-by-1. 1 player close, only 4 in total remaining. Now, if you make it to the top 3, Lupo, you earn another point. Everyone knows that. Nobody wants to be the next one to drop right here.
Skywers, you could hear someone else is popping a shield very close by. That'll tell you there's a lot of players stacked on top of each other.
Is that still Sean up top?
I believe it is.
Oh,
nobody wants to rotate. Nobody wants to move. And I don't blame them because the next placement is, like you said, it's an increase in points. It's gonna create slower play from these really competitive players. They know that placement right now is everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, our top 4 here. The zone about to move. Everything we've seen will culminate in these final moments. Ghost Bizzle, one of the biggest names online of the Summer Skirmish up to this point, trying to bounce around, trying to see exactly where he can spot an opponent. The Storm slowly inching forward, everyone within just 1 or 2 walls of each other. It does not get more intense than this. Traps being placed, and now Lupo, this is it. This is the last move they've had to make. 24 seconds until the zone closes. And basically everyone's hand is forced.
Now, Sean might still be in the best position, depending on the healing of the other players. He has 5 bandages, and healing through HP damage is huge.
Someone's
you hear
out
the
of
shots come out. Skywers goes down to Bizzle, top 3, which means these 3 players get 2 points apiece.
That elim for Bizzle not only gave him top 3, but it gave him a 3rd elimination. Bizzle trying to strike down this opponent. It's not going to happen yet, so Bizzle has no healing, and he's only got 60 HP. He's got to force these fights. He's got to make something happen. He's looking to make it happen towards this low side, down to just 1 HP. Can he make the greatest play happen? I don't think Sean drops. Why would Sean ever drop?
This elimination would be worth 2 points right now.
Ghost Bizzle, good effort, my friend, but Sean knows there's the reason to force it. There it is.
The shot in Sean, an excellent play, 6 eliminations. Oh yeah, that's confidence. An excellent set of decision-making opportunities there. As he was up top, he rotated at the right times. He stayed above and in front of the next move for each circle.
Ghost Bizzle, he's like, all right, hey, you know what? His big role right there, yes, could he have tried to maybe get the victory royale? It would have been near impossible at that last moment